You have a little countdown clock there.
Right now, I have to stop saying.
Coming up today on the DLLS Stars Podcast, look who's in studio. And it's not even his first time, but it's his first time with a full show. Sean is here.
It's actually twice in one day.
It is because it was what, 1:30? It was late. But the Stars won game 2. It made it all worthwhile. Sean is here. Luds is here. John is here. I'm here. Only Sam, who had to go to the airport, is not here. So let's get going. Stars Podcasts right now on DLS.
Get ready, boys.
The DLLS Stars Podcast. Our Stanley Cup playoff coverage is brought to you by Bud Lights. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy responsibly. And by Happiest Hour. Check out Happiest Hour for the best spot to watch the NHL playoffs. It is a Tuesday. It is Tuesday, the 22nd of April, and this is the DLLS Stars Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. And in studio, welcome in our boys. Sean Shapiro, for the first time on a podcast, is in studio, which means that Craig Ludwig and I don't have to complain that we can't hear him talking, and it's easier to have a conversation without talking over Sean, although we'll do our best to make him feel at home by interrupting him as much as possible. Sean?
Well, yes.
Welcome.
Yes.
No, wait. You don't let you interrupt. We got to get to an ad break.
We're not going to talk about the salmon-colored pajamas and the green socks and anything, and we're good.
Would you like to?
I think I did.
Okay.
I just wanted to point them out.
I mean, it's two different. It's from Inside Out. I thought this was.
Did you show John?
No, I didn't.
Do you know that John is absolutely a huge Inside Out fan?
Got,
John, did you check
I
out
thought
the
you
sock?
meant they were actually Inside Out.
You have Inside Out on?
There's a Bing Bong sock right there.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
Bing
Look at
Bong.
Bing Bong.
Look at that. See,
I was playing the Bing Bong drop for the socks, not because we have a super chat there.
But I did my.
Sean's
I did my
wearing
research.
a Bing Bong sock.
You know,
Do
now
you
that I
ever
look,
someone
my
like
socks
that?
are inside out.
It's
Too. One of them
inside
is.
your head.
I didn't realize that. One of
We
my
need that
socks
little-
are inside out.
See?
Little drum rim shot for Luds because
Well,
he's
if
wearing his
if I
socks
told
inside
you,
out.
It had to come up now.
Yeah.
Like if I just told John about it, then it wouldn't be.
It would
He
would
wouldn't
be
have been as excited right
It would
now.
be very exhibitionist because
Usually
you'd be
when I
saying,
meet
"Look
people
at
for
me."
the first time, the first thing I say is roll your pants up. Let me see the socks.
You know, it's interesting,
Very
though.
natural.
You guys now have something else in common because both of you have been ridiculed on the show for your socks or how you're wearing them by Luds.
Oh, wow.
I never. What did I say about his?
Do you remember the
I can't
time-
even see his
Do you
feet.
remember the day that he had his socks up and you said...
Well, that's a little too feminine for me.
I was first off, careful.
Those are
Second
actually
off,
not called. Those are not called socks, John. Those are stockings.
I was wearing joggers.
Yeah,
Those are
you
meant
don't-
to be tucked into
You don't
long
even know what
socks.
jog means.
I
Look
don't
in the
know
mirror.
what jog means. Kidding me? Retirement. I don't know, Luds. You ain't staying in shape too well since you hung 'em up.
Oh, here we go. Yep.
We can
Boy,
give
shots
that
fired.
a test
I believe
anytime
so.
you'd like.
You be careful. Somebody's going to start calling somebody buddy here in a minute.
Yeah. You listen to me, pal.
So today on the show, Sean is here, and we're thrilled to have him. And we were here less than 12 hours ago, finishing up the post-game show for Game 2. Stars equaled even the series with a really big overtime win. We talked about it a whole bunch before the game that it had to be, even afterwards. This felt like one they had to win. But I wanted to get into more of our discussion from last night about why they were able to turn up the intensity in because I think they played hard and I thought they played with some urgency in the first game, but there were some specific tactical differences. And since he's here, we'll start with Sean. They went to the net more. What made? I mean, obviously that's something that we always clamor about. You need to go to the hard areas, but they actually did that and were rewarded for it.
Especially at even strength, right? Where if you go and look at we were looking at the numbers before the show, where the actual shots from that danger area, the 4-foot circle right around the crease, are actually similar semi-similar from game 1 to 2, but a lot of that was because of the power play in game 1. So in game 2, they started getting to those areas. There's two things that kind of stood out for me going back and looking at the game again. First one was there's something the Avalanche defenders like to do, and it's how their system plays. And I'm curious of Lud's thought on this because eventually
you can ask him. You're right here.
I know, but I'm trying to be kind to speak to both people at once.
That's
Normally
okay.
It's looking at one screen.
It's not easy in the middle, is it?
Exactly.
No, the middle is a
And
tough
so
one.
it's
Usually the one in the middle doesn't say much.
I'm
sorry, Sam.
Everyone on the Avalanche, even though they're not all Cale Makar, they all have the green light to go, right? So there's a lot of that within the Avalanche defense when it comes to off that first shot, right? There's a ton of, you see that first step going north right away, right? Within the Avalanche defense. And I actually talked to a couple people from the Stars about this before the game last night, how they kind of were talking to players like, look, we don't want you to get caught. We don't want you to get burned like you did for the one that led to the 3-on-1 goal the other night in game 1. But we have that space there. They're giving us that second to get that extra battle there. And the Stars took that extra half second of space that was there because it's effort and grit too and all of that other fun playoff hockey words, but it's also just looking at something tactically of, here, we know this. And the other thing that they really looked at was the spot of like, okay, we know this is how Mackenzie Blackwood gets rattled. We know that. We know he is so athletic. He's so big. He's elastic. He gets across and everything like that. But when you go through and you make the first rebound is usually there. And they finally did that. So it's a simple thing, go to the net more, but it's also, there's a little bit more of how you do it, how you find those little pockets of space that they did so much better at last night.
Bloods, when you rewatched the game this morning, did you see a real concerted effort by the Stars to go to the front of that? And specifically, who stood out to you as being the most effective at that strategy?
You saw it right from the start of the game. And it's one of the things we talked about. As a matter of fact, there was a clip, John, and I don't know if we have them or not, when we did the 12 or 13 shots the other night, the very last one that we had, what it was a shot. It was a shot from, let's see.
You know, Luds,
it was a shot from a defenseman right in the middle of the ice.
Show.
But you could have just said no. So there was a shot right from the middle of the ice, and I think it was Petrovic. And we paused it there, and what you would see on that is Blackwood came out and had great sight lines.
Yeah.
And what was happening is the two forwards that were there were on the outside of the two defenders. And so what they did is they got interior. Bottom line is they got interior, and here it is right here. See
this
how
was
quick
from
John
game
is.
1.
Now this one here is, you can see that there's a clear line right to the goaltender, and you can see where guys are a little bit boxed out here. And we've got more people on the outside of this area than we do on the inside. Last night, as far as two lines go, for sure, it was a complete 180, and it was led by Wyatt and Jamie Benn and Dadonov, and then and again Dadonov drops down to that line to make a little tweak there. I thought was great, and then obviously I thought the most noticeable line in the game, and it was the same thing in game 1, was the fourth line. They play in straight lines. They have all year long. You don't see them try to do things, even though the overtime goal was a little more east-west, but that's all that was available to Blackwell. But even that. The reason that goal goes in is because Girard is occupied in front of the net, because I believe it was Beck, or who was standing right in front of the net.
I think it was Oscar Beck, wasn't it?
I mean, he's standing almost in the crease. So he's occupied. He's got his back turned to him. Again, it probably won't look like anything, but that puck goes off the backside of Girard, only because he's looking the wrong direction. And that doesn't happen if there's somebody or no one there and they're on the outside. So two lines for sure had a more direct approach. And I think what that does is it drags the others into that fight. And when I've said this all year long, when you enter the zone and the offensive zone and you can't make that perfect pass and pucks are directed to the net, and you do that often enough, the two guys without the puck, they're already on their way there, because that's what we're doing. And so that just brings everybody into the fight.
Okay. More on this. The swapping of the lines. Rantanen and Dadonov. It seemed to unlock both. Why do you think that worked so well for both those lines?
Well, it's because my big thing is I think Rantanen, for how many years was he in Colorado? 10 or 11?
10
years.
He's playing with some high-end players.
Yeah.
Okay? And on both sides of them, or in the middle, however you want to phrase it. Hintz is that kind of a guy. I think Hintz needs Rantanen. Rantanen needs Hintz. And I think that then what you had is you had a blue-collar line. Obviously, the fourth line is. And then and Sean said this last night, or I think you said it somewhere. I saw it. This is the best game I've seen Jamie Benn play. in
That was
3
the
months
next thing I was going to
possibly.
bring up. Yeah.
But now here's my question for Jamie, not for Jamie, for us. Can he sustain that?
Can he replicate?
Yeah, and he's got to. I mean, he's going to have to find a way to do it. But when you're captain, again, I can go back to Darian Hatcher and I'll go back to Brendan Morrow. There's a reason those guys wore the C is because they dragged their teammates into the fight by playing that way. And that's what Jamie did with that line in particular. The fourth line does it all the time. And then I think when the other two top lines that are more, east-west a little bit, they're like, well, they're having some success. Why don't we try that?
The other thing, too, with Rantanen that was big, it is two parts to me. One, Pete DeBoer kept trying to match up Wyatt's line against McKinnon as much as possible, right? So he took away once for Rantanen, you took away a little bit of that head-to-head, maybe a little bit less pressure. The other thing is Rantanen only played about 2 minutes with Thomas Harley in game 1. All of a sudden, when you're playing with the one defender who could effectively hit you on those
That didn't
outlet
take
angles.
long.
Yeah.
Where's that bell?
Exactly.
Who's on the
John
bell?
hit the bell. There he is.
There you go. But when
He's
you're-
juggling
when-
like
yeah,
nine
when
things
Thomas,
at once
when,
over there.
When he played with Thomas Harley, life got a lot easier. And that's one of the things that
He's probably the next. I should be careful here.
Yeah.
He's the next closest in Dallas.
Yeah,
here.
you're about to make another
Like-
Colin
like the
Blackwell
number 8 on the
disparaging
other
comment.
team.
Yes,
right?
yes, and it's not a fair you shouldn't
Right.
you shouldn't make that comp to Makar. Like it's not.
But
it's
he's
not,
the next
it's-
closest
It's
that
not
Dallas
fair.
has.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so Rantanen has been so used to playing with that type of guy for a decade,
Mhm.
and so he gets put with a guy who can actually find him on those passes and can find him to win the areas and everything like that. And I think like Wyatt Johnston, while I thought that line was good, I think Wyatt's game has missed a little bit too. When he hasn't been with Harley, there's been a lot of things from Wyatt's game. It's one of the reasons that when Miro is back, the Stars team will be so much better. It's not just Miro's defensive work, but you'll have two defensemen who can actually hit guys taking routes. Right now it's one, and so one line is going to be SOL when it comes to that.
So that takes me back to when Brett Hull, Mike Modano would come back to the bench at times on plays when they were going offensive. They'd get over the center line, get to the blue line, and Zuby would have the puck. And I remember distinctly one time Hully said, Zuby, I gotta be here or something like that. He goes, no, just go where you're gonna go. I'll get you the puck. The puck will be there. And that's what Zuby was allowed, his talent allowed him to do that. Harley does it in a different way. It's that bullet pass that's right there for the most part all the time. But he sees where you're headed to. Zuby would fold them saucers into a quiet area where he knew that they were going to eventually go, and they were met there.
I think it was Chambers. I think
Bundy?
No, but I think it was Chambers who told the story where there's a pass that went through his legs from Zuby, and he was asked like, why didn't you catch the pass? And he said, well, if Zuby put it through my legs, then that wasn't for me.
He knew it wasn't for him.
I love that
that's
one.
a testament to how everybody knew that there was a purpose and a reason why the puck was going where it was going.
Exactly.
And that never happened anywhere near me. So, he was the best guy to play with, because when I would look at Zuby and I'd be the only guy open on the ice, he'd look at me and he'd go, no, not him. I'll just do something else with it. And it was always a better play.
You mentioned Jamie Benn. Sean, you wrote about it last night. Why did Jamie Benn stand out in such a positive way to you last night?
Well, we know this team will follow Jamie, right? For negative or for positive or negative, they will follow Jamie to the end of the earth. He is the undisputed leader on that team. And there's a lot of times where in Jamie's time in Dallas, not just this year and for a decade, so they've lulled into games, particularly big games. And when he has an impact early and he's driving and he's being a little bit more of that throwback vintage power forward that he was when he was winning Art Ross trophies. Now that's 10 years ago, and but he went through and he set a tone and a stage, not just with his physicality, but with the way he also drove to that. Like, I think even though he didn't get the goal, right? Lud's the goal where they technically review whether it went over the line or something like that. I know they didn't score there, but to me, that was a big moment for the rest of the team where you see Jamie drive the net hard, try to just bully the goalie into the back of that, try to run him through the end boards. That's to me something where
That's
that
the
team,
beginning of the third period.
Yeah, but it's still one of those where the bench, they don't score there, but the bench sees that and they see him doing that and they know, okay, this is Jamie tonight.
And they were chasing the tying goal at that
the
point.
phrase was always, the captain's here tonight. And Jamie,
Yes.
I believe that Jamie woke up the morning after game 1 and he thought, situation critical, which it is and was.
It was.
Still isn't. You're not out of the woods, but it was. And so Jamie, I believe, recognizes that he probably doesn't have the same skill level that he had at one time, but the one thing he does have is the heart and the willingness to go to those areas. And again, when Jamie, the best example of it I could say is when Jamie, that one goal that Wyatt dumps the puck in, and and they end up scoring that goal. And yeah, John, I got the break thing. So, but what happens? What's so great about? I'm telling a story here. So, what's so great about it is when Jamie goes in to hit someone in the corner, Dadonov is right on his back.
Yeah,
and he's hitting the next guy to him, and there you're going. That's what I talk about, being tied like together as a rope. When one guy goes, the other guy goes. I mean, he dragged. Not that Dadonov needs to be, but there was a little more oomph from Dadonov on that particular hit than there was generally, because he saw the way the captain went in. He went in. They win a 50-50 puck battle, a couple of those, and ultimately results in a goal.
It's very similar to the way Lehkonen plays off McKinnon in Colorado.
Yep.
Very similar.
And those are complementary players.
Exactly.
That's how you put those lines together.
Yep.
We're going to talk about a lot more of the game coming up, some gamesmanship, and more here on the DLLS Stars Podcast.
I have now seen the floors that I have to speak
You're
about.
Standing and sitting on
see
said
the floors.
floor.
I mean, I don't know why you put a rug on them. The floors are beautiful.
They are beautiful.
Now, just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. You wander endless aisles. Somehow you're hauling all these materials home, looking for an installer, and coordinating everything yourself. Clearly, people don't realize how much I read when I'm not on screen. Those big box stores might have a flooring department, but the person helping you with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday, and they could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. Just imagine that. So, why is Empire Today your best bet for a new floor? Well, their flooring experts will bring the showroom right to your home. They'll pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space. See how it looks with your furniture, just like it does in this space here. And get the precise measurements taken and have all of the questions answered so there are no surprises. So, schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard right, a $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for full details.
Thank you, Sean. Let's talk about Own Well. I received my property tax statement in the mail yesterday. Yippee, right? But it's important. The deadline, May 15th. You need to use Own Well to make sure that you don't overpay for your property taxes here in the great state of Texas. Overpaying shouldn't be one of the issues of being a home and property owner. Did you know you can fight your property taxes and save thousands of dollars every year? Well, use Own Well, and they make it fast, quick, easy. They do all the work up front. The deadline to protest is May 15th for most counties. Save money on your property taxes with Own Well. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com/DLLS. That's OWNWELL.com/DLLS. Okay, before we get on to another part of this topic, Luds, you were talking about Dadonov and Jamie, and I want to add to that I thought Mikko Rantanen was way more physically engaged in game 2 than even in game 1. I thought he intentionally was he took a couple of monster hits, but maybe that comes with the dinner with a guy like him. He's so big, he attracts that, but he also was dishing it out, and it looked like he was being more aggressive in some of those extra, little jabs and shots at his old teammates.
He was engaged because, again, I go back to playing with number 24, and I go back and I said he was playing about 18 minutes a night. When he was on that other club, he was playing 25.
Yeah.
So I think that a player like him, he sees the move made, whether they talked about it or not prior to the game. I'm sure they were listening to the show. That's why it happened.
Oh, yeah,
but
for sure.
But what happened when I think there's a little bounce in him when he gets up there and plays with a guy has that kind of speed, because it reminds him of somebody else he played with for a long time. And then the minutes are there, and he wants to keep the minutes where they are. You can see he thrives off of the minute. There's a reason they call him the Moose. He can get out there. He can do that. He can keep that kind of pace going the way that he plays. And I just think there's another step in that. And I think that those guys on the other side are going, oh no, because they know what he can do at this time of the year.
I also wonder if there's a bit of the kind of pride point too. Let's put it this way. Drury scores. Natchez has been very good. Those are the two guys Colorado traded for him.
Yeah.
Right? There is definitely these guys, they're competitive. They know they keep track of this. When you see that from the guys that they went and they replaced you with, you're going to try to prove some people wrong.
I said the other day, I don't even remember when it was, but but he had his kumbaya team. You know, he went to Colorado, had the meeting with the friends and all this kind of stuff. And then he played in game 1 in the playoffs and he got that over with. And now the friendly thing is done with. The last thing that he wants to do is, I think it's from both sides. The last thing that Colorado wants is for that guy to ultimately win this series. And it's the same thing from him. Yeah. You know, I'm the guy that signed the big new contract now. I am now a Dallas Star. I was upset yesterday, and actually a couple guys came walking in. I was sitting out the car. He did he was doing an interview, obviously, in the room after the skate. Yeah. And it was like 6 minutes long. And it was is Colorado stuff. Colorado this, Colorado that, and talk about Lehkonen, and talk about McKinnon, and talk about, you know, when Gabe's coming back and all this stuff. And I'm like, when is he going to tell them? When is he going to say, I'm a Dallas Stars now? Let's end this conversation. But then somebody made the comment to me. I think he was talking to Colorado reporters.
He was,
which that's fair. But I moved on, guys. I moved on. You want to talk about this team now?
Do you think he's just being polite?
Yeah, I think he is a polite kid. Yeah. I think he's a very polite person. And again, I get it, but that's an old school mentality. Like, we've moved on. I'm done with these guys. They didn't want me. That's the way I'd look at it.
In your defense, Luds, this is the whole thing where, like, he has to answer the questions he's asked, right? He can't control what questions he asks. The other thing that is just from a storyline perspective, he went through the same thing before game 1, the morning skate before game 1. And not saying that it's not a story. It definitely is. People have called it the Mikko Rantanen Bowl and all of that stuff. But I don't know what else he can say. Right? Like right now, from a media perspective, there's a lot of people who are going up there to ask him this, and this again. And he's answered the same question 17 times in a row. A lot of times from the same people covering Denver. So it's a commentary on, he is showing a lot of grace, really, and handling it really well.
And that's the last thing playoffs are about.
Well, yeah.
That's why I want him to say in the next interview, let's talk about Dallas Stars. That's my team.
Well, I mean,
because that goes a long way in the room. Not that he needs it, but I think if the players hear that, you know what I mean? If they actually heard that, you hear what Mikko said today?
Yeah.
He's like, hey,
well,
go with us.
There'll be a really good opportunity for that on Wednesday morning because there's a ton of Avalanche. There's a ton of Denver media was down here for game 1 and 2. Yep. There'll be double it, and so
why not have an optional and he doesn't have to skate and stay at the hotel? Like, just piss them people off.
He could.
Yeah.
Well, man, you segue this beautifully, Lud. So
okay.
Kudos to you for this. Let's talk about some gamesmanship because the Avalanche engaged in a lot of it yesterday before the game.
Marty Natchez.
Wait.
No, sorry, the Natchez.
So, Sean, I want you to chronologically kind of go through all the steps they did for Gabe Landeskog not to play in game 2.
Yeah, this was wild. So you've seen before, hey, there's a game time decision. We're going to dress extra guys in warm-ups. So in the NHL lineup, you're only allowed to dress 3 guys with a letter, right? You can only have 3 letters on the ice. So
typically a C and 2 A's.
Yes, but the Avalanche have done 3 A's since
for 2 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
3 years now. So
almost 3.
During warm-ups, Landeskog's on the ice wearing a C, as you would expect. Now, Devon Toews does not have one because, well, we have 3 guys with letters. And
so in the warm-up last night, Toews does not have an A on his jersey.
He does not have a letter, and both him and Miles Wood both took line rushes.
And everybody's
both
thinking
and Wood.
That because Ross Colton picked up an injury in game 1, and Jared Bednar said yesterday morning, it's not great, or he's not great, that Landeskog's the one's coming in.
Yes.
Right? That's all that's ruling. And so they're playing into this.
Yeah, they're playing into it. They activate him off LTIR. They make a big deal on Avalanche Twitter of he's here.
Back.
And then he goes, and then in warm-ups, you're like, oh, well, I mean, of course they're not going to take the A off of, that's their tell, right? They're not going to take the A off Toews' jersey for if he's not going to play. Then he is scratched. And the best part was they put out the roster sheet, and the first roster sheet had Landeskog playing, and it had Wood as a scratch. And then when you refreshed it, and that came out, and
this was in the actual NHL media computer page.
And this completely fooled a lot of media members. There was our pals from DNVR put out a whole welcome back video. They pulled the trigger on that, and we welcome back for nothing. So so they go do that, and then Toews comes out and wearing an A. So the question I have for the Avalanche equipment guys, obviously not a post overtime loss, but so did they have 2 jerseys set aside for Taves where he took one and then he just switched jerseys, or
the mechanisms to make this play happen,
or did they have to go and do a quick stitch job of the
before, like at the end of warm up?
Yes, this is really dumb, and I realize it, but this is fascinating to me. So,
Luds, you've talked about.
Are we moving on from this topic?
No,
Lud's
I find this hilarious.
Lud's agreed this is really dumb by the look on his face.
Right,
so.
but you've also talked about the history of Ken Hitchcock putting black paper over your plexiglass so that they can't see what you're doing in your practices. And guys doing, I mean, there's all kinds of this misdirection. I mean, we're talking about spanning decades. Does it really have an impact, or is it all theater?
That's why. Do you think anybody from the Dallas Stars really were believing anything, whether he's in or out of the lineup? We don't care.
So why do you think Colorado went through all that effort?
I think they want to get him in a pregame skate. Anyways, I think there's a process sometimes for how you're going to get back in the lineup. I told you when I thought he was coming into the game a week ago.
Yeah.
I told you he's coming into game 3. They're going to skate out onto the ice. Now, by doing what they did last night, does that take a little bit away? But is there going to be even more anticipation from that crowd there? And I would not start him. I'm telling you, I would not start him because, again, I shouldn't say this because they'll probably copy it like everything else.
They're going to listen to you, of course.
No, I think what they do is they start McKinnon, start that line. You know, they're going to get they get to choose last now. So regardless, I think you start him, then you go with Nelson's line, then you go with the Coyle line. Because there's already enough hype because the series is tied, it's there. So the hype stays up here and the people are all watching. Then the hype stays up here with the next line. It's just going to stay there. Then when that next line comes out, you take it to another octave in there because they're going to have a standing ovation. And so if they start out the right way with the first 2 lines and you save him a little bit, instead of just kind of getting it out of the way in the beginning, I would wait a little. That's how I would play it. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't really think it's going to matter.
Yeah, but they're going to play into the game ops. I mean, it's the first. Yeah, but they're going to play into the PA guy's going to yell the captain Gabe Landeskog.
I don't think they should do that. Yeah. I think from a standpoint, I think there's going to be enough going on. What I'm saying is that the anticipation, not only from the fans but from the players. The players are all waiting, and then the next line that comes up after Landeskog comes off the ice, they got the little bump. You know what I mean? And you get the game flowing just for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then you put him out there. He jumps in. It's not a face-off. It's on the fly kind of thing, and then the crowd stands up and goes. So, but again, they may just start him and kind of, because then I think it dies down a little bit. I think you can kind of prolong it a little.
On the flip side, do you think the Stars will roll out the same lineup for Game 3 in Denver that they did last night?
Yeah, they're going to start. They're going to start with Wyatt's line.
But not the starting
the
of
same
the game.
Lineup. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
It's the first game they won in 9 games.
That's right.
Okay, don't. And they still gave up. They're still giving up over 4 goals a game.
Assuming everybody's healthy, right? We stick with that. But you bring that out because that was the last thing we wanted to talk about here in this segment before we talk to AJ from DNVR. And our next is the difference of the Stars defending Game 2 compared to those previous 8 losses.
The defending? Oh, I thought everything was better. You know, but I will say that if you look at the start of the game, you know, Nate just had a chance. Lehkonen had a chance. Val had a chance. There was some open ice out there. So can they be tighter? Yes. I think the entries are one thing. The in-zone play, once the Avs get the puck and they're rotating and they're moving around, they're 2 different things. Dallas has always been good, for the most part, on entries because they have the speed. You know, what's happened is what you always have to be careful with being that aggressive and you're going. This will be Colorado. Colorado has to temper their emotions in the start of the game because you get going and you want to jump and you want to keep that momentum going. Next thing you know, there's 4 guys below the offensive blue line, and now there's an outnumbered rush going the way. And so, you know, for Dallas, I think Dallas has just got to be prepared. Listen, guys, we know they're coming. We know we're going to get a push in the first 5 minutes. So it's not about weather the storm. For me, and again, the 3rd and 4th line do it pretty well, is pucks go in at the offensive blue line. You don't turn pucks over and allow them to go the other way because they counterattack pretty good. So let's not feed into that, especially early on in the game. We don't want to give them some momentum, make them earn their momentum, but make them go 150 feet to go get the momentum at the other end of the
rink. And
rink.
if they're clean with getting the pucks out, when Colorado starts to put that pressure on, Dallas is a pretty good counterattack team themselves.
Yeah, and see, from my thing is you kind of, it's almost like a football term. When you're going into players on a good player, obviously all of them, but because if you hit them all, you usually get the right people that you're trying to target, but it's hit and stick. Like, don't just hit them and then roll off and go. You know what I mean? Like just pin somebody in, stop their momentum. I'm talking about the McKinnons and the Vals and those kind of guys. When you go into the corner and the walls, let's stop their feet from moving, because if you're just going to bump him and his momentum continues to go, they're a really good team. Let's face it. And Dallas is a good team too. But you see in game one how Dallas played against those guys. I mean, they stopped momentum and they kept everything to the outside. So they allowed their goaltender, I think, to have better vision. And I think now with all the things that were going on, the chaos that was happening in front of their goaltender made it more difficult. I don't know, Sean, if you thought any of those goals he should have, was a soft goal. What was Tyler Sagan's goal, the one that kind of squeaked through him? I mean, it comes from one side of the ice to the other.
That's a really good goal. Like, let's give
it's
Dallas
just a
credit.
good passing
Like, that's
play.
a ton of chaos, and it's skill within chaos. That's a really pretty goal, and
So I think they earned their goals. Why do you keep doing that over there?
He's telling us it's time for us to get to
take
break,
a damn break
because we
guest
have
is
our
waiting.
guest.
Can't you
AJ,
tell we're on a roll?
AJ Haefele.
Can you look at the damn clock?
Here on the DLLS Stars Podcast, presented by Bud Light.
Let's slow it down talking about barbecue and country music. What's more Texas than that? Lone Star Smokeout is coming to AT&T Stadium May 2nd through the 4th. Try barbecue from 14 teams across the U.S. and decide for yourself who's really the champ. Pair all those events each day like Texas's biggest happy hour, Derby Day, and Cinco de Mayo a day early. Country's biggest stars like Cody Jenks, John Party, and Midland will be performing. Stay tuned to that'd be DLLS, for information about our upcoming VIP ticket giveaway for each day of the Smokeout. Kids 10 and under, cover your mouth. Kids 10 and under get in free at general admission. Tickets start at just $68 for all the coffers in the house. Don't miss out. Get yours at LoneStarSmokeout.com.
Thank you, Luds. Let's talk about Sleeper. It's the best fantasy league platform out there. Put your puck or your ball knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. I'm on the app right now. You can see the video over there. You're just taking a look at some of the great NHL things we have going on tonight. I mean, you think Brady Tkachuk is going to ramp things up tonight against Toronto as the Ottawa Senators try to equal that series? If you decide, well, maybe you're going to go with 3.5 shots on goal. If you want to go with more than, it would be 1.76 times your money, less than 1.8. I think I would go with more. I think Brady's going to try to help his team level it up, although it's going to be a tough task against the Maple Leafs. Maybe you're going to go with Austin Matthews, because if you have him down for more than 0.5 goals, 2.03 times your money. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop for instant alerts, breaking news, major injuries, and if you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app, use the code DLLS Stars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Oh, wow. Look at that. Hold that back up.
Bunch of submarines out there?
We have, no, these are not sandwiches. I'm being informed that we are 9 subscribers on YouTube away from 21,000.
Wait.
The Mav Show constantly hits those numbers.
If we get it to 8, I have not subscribed yet. So I can,
Boy,
Hey,
you just upset the boss
I
on
can
that
hit the
one.
subscribe button right now.
I just did. Change the board. 2 of them are off the board. So we're down to 7.
There we go.
I've been subscribed for months. All right.
I didn't even know you could.
Well, as we continue to try to get to 21,000 subscribers here on our DLS Sports YouTube channel, let's welcome in a guy across enemy lines. But we're all friends here, right? It's from DNVR's Avalanche Podcast. It's AJ Haefele. AJ, how you doing this afternoon?
What's up, fellas? You guys have that ad with starts with country music and barbecue. It makes me miss living in Texas a whole lot.
It sounds very Texan, doesn't
This is
it?
Denver's version of Sean.
I now understand why you can't hear me.
You see?
I
See how it is?
I now understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
AJ, Sean's always remote because he's based out of Michigan near Detroit. This is the first time he's done a show with us in studio other than our post-game show
I'm going
last
to have
night.
to start yelling. I did not realize. I had no idea how this
And
setup
it's just a
worked at
technical
all.
thing from our studio where sometimes our guests will kind of like fade down, and it's not your levels. Our YouTube people hear it just fine. But Sean will talk, and we'll be sitting here kind of leaning forward, going,
This
"Do you hear what he's saying?" So
is like
not you. It's definitely
this is like
us.
exposure therapy for me. I feel like this is a trap.
It's our
So,
producer. He
yes.
never gets things dialed in
Yes.
right.
Oh, it's all about John again. So AJ, we in Dallas land were dealing with a lot of doom and gloom over the last couple of weeks because the Stars kind of limped into the playoffs as far as results. They didn't win a game in their last 7 regular season, and then of course they lost game 1. It seems like the air smells and tastes a little better. Food is better. People are, I'm of course over exaggerating here, but our fans are not losing it, because literally after the McKinnon goal last night to start the game, they were saying the Stars were cooked. They weren't going to win a game. Now I think some belief is back that these are 2 really good teams. I always laugh at the emotional roller coaster, but are Colorado Avalanche fans dealing with that same emotional high and low that goes through these playoff runs?
Yeah, man. Avs fans are obnoxious. It's a period to period swing. I'm pretty convinced that Avs fans have taken years off of my life just trying to handle the emotional roller coaster that they ride in game with us. So yeah, it's exactly what it is. After game 1, it was, oh my God, Colorado's going to sweep them. This is a joke. These guys can't hang. And then after game 2, they're like, oh, they punched us in the mouth and we're too soft and we don't know how to punch back and we can't handle it. We can't close games. There's no killer instinct. You know, it's all the same. It's all the same stuff. It's playoff hockey. You live in the moment.
Well, we all know fan is short for fanatic. I think we all need to remember that. With AJ, with the Avs, when you look at game 2, what are your legit non-social media highs and lows? What are your legit concerns out of game 2 from an Avs perspective?
From an Avs perspective, it's that Colorado's biggest strength in the regular season, outside of injuries, was their collective inability to defend right around the crease, to clean up some of the scoring chances that teams are able to create right in front of their goaltender. And the Stars do that really well, and they feasted on that in game 2. They didn't have any issue whatsoever creating multiple scoring chances right there. You look at some of the goals that get scored, it's just all goals. It's pucks that are just hanging around in the crease. It's getting outworked. It really was an inability to close last night in game 2 that I think separated it for Colorado, because they did a lot of really good work in period 1, and then a lack of discipline by Parker Kelly. They give up the power play goal. You've undone all of that work on a terrible entry from Josh Manson. Their PK structure breaks down. One mistake turns into 2 mistakes, turns into a goal against, and that's, I guess that's how goals get scored in the NHL. But it was really indicative of their inability to kind of stem the tide once Dallas found their footing in the game for real, and Colorado's not being able to like plug the dam, I think, is a concern, and not being able to defend in front of Mackenzie Blackwood and making his life a lot more difficult than it needs to be is not helping.
AJ, there's obviously a lot of talk, especially with these couple clowns I work with, about Landeskog coming back and all that. And, yes, it's going to make a difference, but there's another player over there that I think can really tilt a playoff series. And luckily, fortunately for Dallas so far, I don't think Val Nichushkin has been what Val Nichushkin can be. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I just wrote in my piece that I published like 30 minutes ago that last night might have been the worst that I've seen Val Nichushkin play in the last 4 or 5 years. He was awful. The decision making, he wasn't physically engaged. A guy that is so good at getting up and hunting pucks on the forecheck was just sort of out there doing cardio. He was just getting a nice light workout in, and that difference making 2-way impact player that we've become so accustomed to seeing in Colorado, totally absent through 2 games. So and his importance to the Avalanche cannot be overstated. He's extremely important to their success, and his size and skating ability and that 2-way impact has been a difference maker for them for the last several years. And him kind of doing the Casper routine right now is not it's not helping. It's not helping Brock Nelson. It's not helping that top six look any better. Colorado's top forwards all kind of look like crap right now. So it's not just Nichushkin. It's really I would say all of them.
Are you? I mean, I know this is something that is going to be front and center tomorrow night in Denver because it's now the second return of Mikko Rantanen to Ball Arena. I think it was really important for Mikko that they didn't have to do this the first time in Game 3, that they had that game in March, because now it's not going to be as emotional. But from your perspective, AJ, from the fans of the Avalanche, how emotionally challenging is it going to be for them to see Mikko Rantanen playing playoff games in a Dallas Stars sweater against them in Denver tomorrow and then on Saturday?
I mean, he hasn't really done anything so far. So the next big play that he makes in this series will be the first one, and I think that'll be tough. I think that'll hurt. They've got the Avs fans have kind of gotten away with Mikko Rantanen doing the I'm just going to drift through games and not really have any kind of an impact routine that we've got very accustomed to seeing when he was here. So I think I think his own lackluster play has made it a lot easier to focus on other things, and frankly, the whole Landeskog fiasco is kind of overshadowing everything else going on. That the whole like Rantanen revenge storyline is just sort of on the back foot at this point.
You used the word fiasco there with Landeskog, and I think it's actually perfect. After we talked about earlier about the whole, you have Devon Toews literally take warm-ups without a letter because you're trying to be cloak and dagger and everything like that. I know what Jared Bednar will say to me because I asked him directly about it yesterday, and so I'm just curious from your perspective, as from an Avalanche fan perspective, and the people that who follow this team, are they getting tired of this shtick right now? Because it's kind of ridiculous.
It's absurd. Honestly, I'm exhausted by this. We're 3 years into this whole cloak and dagger nonsense. Like what's happening? Well, he might play this weekend. He might play next week. Or who knows what's going on? He. Like, come. I'm tired. I think it was the plan to put him into warm-ups yesterday and to have him out there skating, and it was just the last step of the process to getting him back. But the whole thing is exhausting, and it feels like a circus, and it feels a little bit like the whole thing was detracting from the game yesterday, and for my money, I didn't love that. I didn't love that it felt like so much of the focus got pulled with all of this Landeskog will he won't he nonsense.
Well, as Luds likes to say, no distractions, and that's what the whole
it's
Landeskog
literally
thing,
his mantra. He's got a shirt that says no distractions.
No distractions, and
I despise them, and I went back to a long time ago in Vegas with the goaltender and the sword through him, and all there was talk. I said every day they're talking about the agent and all this other stuff. I want to ask you about one guy that's popped for me, I think for all of us, Logan O'Connor. 340 some career games. He's got a total of 45 goals, but he looks like he's a top liner. Is he a playoff kid, or what can you tell us about him?
Yeah, we call him the mayor of Denver. He is he's a fan favorite. He'll go 40 games where you won't notice a single thing that he does with the puck, but when he gets into the 10 games where he's a difference maker, he's awesome. He just goes through these stretches, and he has been pretty cold for the last couple of months, so good timing for Colorado, I guess. He's definitely a gamer. He's always elevated his game in the postseason, and the Avs really missed him last year. Brandon Duhaime just really was not able to replicate what O'Connor brings to that role as one of the league's best defensive wings and a really good penalty killer. He should not have the kind of outsized impact that he had last night where he was Colorado's best skater, but he's a really good, fun postseason player.
So let me ask you, when you bring that up, being a gamer and the playoffs and stuff like that, Any similarities to a guy like Mike Keane?
Yes. I would say that's a fun comp, honestly.
Yeah, that's a. I mean, from where I sit, that's a hell of a compliment.
Yeah.
I mean, when you mentioned that, I thought that's the guy that pops into my head. And Claude Lemieux, but nobody liked him. But it was more about Keener. I absolutely loved him. Yeah, and you love Claude Lemieux. You love Claude Lemieux when he's on your team. Of
course.
You know what I mean? And that's the best players there are, I think. And everybody hated Pat Verbeek too, but you'd love him on your team.
Glad you bring that up because AJ,
should be in the Hall of Fame.
Speaking of players you hate, we've asked you a bunch about the Avalanche because you have a unique perspective because you cover them all year. But from the other side, are there Dallas Stars players that grind your gears, or the Avs fans who are the ones that they, for lack of a better word, hate the most?
I mean, I think Mason Marchment is the guy that people are really frustrated with. I love
why?
him.
But why?
Like,
tell us why.
I love him because he gets under the Avs skin. He's constantly involved in everything, and when the Stars get a little quiet, when their game goes quiet, Marchment does something to bring them back to life. He plays with that kind of passion, and passion begets passion. And you're not going to win a postseason game in the NHL without that kind of shift to shift commitment. And Marchment brings that, and I think he puts everybody else on his back when the rest of the Stars are kind of just hanging out. I've been surprised Jamie Benn hasn't done anything in 2 games. I don't think that'll continue. But through these 2 games, it would be Mason Marchment. Historically, in this era, it would be Jamie Benn. I think Liam Bichsel definitely got under some skin last night, including Nathan McKinnon's. And I think it was telling that the Avs didn't really have any kind of response to it. They kind of just let him do whatever. And,
it's interesting too, though. Both of these teams are very low penalized teams over the course of the regular season. I know playoffs are different. AJ, we are out of time, but this has been great. Let's do this again. Hopefully this series goes a long way and we can revisit maybe next week. But thank you very much for hopping on today.
Thanks, AJ.
Yep, thanks, AJ.
Absolutely appreciate it.
All right, that's AJ Haefele from the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. Up next, let's talk about some comments from Stars owner Tom Gagliardi that he made yesterday here on the DLLS Stars Podcast. Well, it's good stuff from AJ. Obviously, you can see the DNVR was the first all-city network, and then they've branched out. Dallas is the 5th. DLLS is a phenomenal place to be a sports fan for all of your DLLS and Dallas sports teams: Cowboys, Mavs, Rangers, Stars. And right now, as you can see down on the QR code, you can scan and become a diehard for just $36 for the first year. That's just $3 a month. It's a fantastic intro offer. Do you guys know, and you probably didn't, but Benn, our general manager, sent me a note last night. Over 100 people signed up to become diehards yesterday on Monday. So great time to do it with all of the coverage that Sean and Sam are writing for the Stars. And then, of course, everybody, whether it's Clarence and Joe for the Cowboys, Jeff with the Rangers, Tim Cato's been doing phenomenal work with the Mavs. Of course, that you talk about fiasco, that's like an epic proportion for the Mavs. So that's a huge benefit right there. Then on top of that, you get a free DLS t-shirt of your choice when you sign up to be a diehard. We've got limited availability right now from the playoff shirts. They're going like hotcakes. The Moose shirt, the Jamie Benn captain shirt, the Finnish Mafia shirt. I know some of the sizes were already sold out and they're waiting to be restocked. I would not wait around. If you find the shirt that you want and the size is available, get it, because you might have to wait a while before it comes back available. That Finnish Mafia shirt, perfect now that we have a Finnish line with Granlund, Hintz, and Rantanen all playing on the same line. Discord, I haven't gone to it yet today, Sean, after last night's game. I'm a little hesitant because of...
Always scary place. Wonderful with scary place.
It's such a great
The
community,
places that scare you are probably some of the best.
You just don't know. Sign up today. It is a great time to be a Dallas sports fan, especially if you're a Dallas Stars fan here on DLLS.
When's the last time pancakes actually sold like hotcakes?
You're always a pancake guy, though.
I'm a big pancake guy.
I know.
So.
Well, I guess it depends on if you go to a certain fast food restaurant or not. Yeah. All right. Luds, Sean and I were looking at some of the stuff that came out of the Tom Gagliardi media availability. Our intrepid beat writer Sam was there yesterday, along with, I believe it was Robert, Leah, and Taylor.
And Mr. Heiko was there too.
And Mike Heiko.
Yes.
All apologies to
Mike is, but to be fair, Mike is part of the fabric of the.
He does work for the team.
As Mike told me, and this is his words, I'm not making fun of Hikes. He's told me this. Hikes' job is to make sure someone is there to hold the microphone.
And ask questions for the TV cameras.
Hikes has been fooling him for a long time.
Tom Gagliardi met with the beat writers of the Stars yesterday and had a sit down, and there's some great stuff that came out of that. I know Sam's working on some things that he's going to write about it. Obviously, it was before Game 2. He had said he was very happy with the effort from Game 1. He said that looked like us. The guys were ready to go. They played hard. I thought we could have easily won that game. We didn't deserve to lose that game. This was also in response to the way the Stars finished the regular season and the way they played.
Yeah, the bar wasn't set really high coming into that.
Wasn't it? But he was pleased, and obviously you'd think that he'd be pleased after the game last night to grind out an overtime victory, two really good teams. But I wanted to start with, obviously I believe in the group. This was in conversation about the Logan Stankoven trade. He said, I traded 3 first-round picks. This is a team we can win this thing with. It's a big change at departure, and we've spent a lot of time talking about it. But to hear the owner say why that's important, and he actually bought a round at one of his bars in Vancouver for 300 of the Stankoven traveling party for that game. Logan was supposed to be there with the Dallas Stars, and then, of course, got traded to Carolina. Stankoven scored a couple of goals for Carolina in their playoff game. Looked good. He said it was a really, really difficult thing. In fact, he even asked Jim Nill if there's any other player they would want, and the answer was no, they wanted Stankoven. But because he did not want, he drafted them twice. First with Kamloops and then again with the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being loyal to all of your players. And hey, Mr. Gaglardi's the owner. He can say and do whatever he wants to do. And from what I understand is he lets his guys that he's put in charge run that department. So, you know, and I think that the owners that I've heard about, and I've never been involved with any of the kind that we're talking, are the meddlesome ones, you know, that get in there and they think they know this. And when you've got, I mean, you hire people that have been doing it since God was a cowboy. So you know that Jim Nill knows what he's doing. He's been there. He's been part of 4 or 5 Stanley Cups, something like that. And so, and again, in all the people that work with and under Jim. So I think Tom does that, and he's allowed to have his opinion and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, he's probably like most of the good owners, like, well, these are my hockey guys. If that's a decision they want to make, that's what they make.
And Tom had to learn that, though, too. I think
I agree with that.
We have to be clear
because
on
in the
that.
beginning it was different.
It was different. I mean, one of the classic story is hiring Jim Nill. And so when the Stars had talked with Jim Nill, and I've written about this, and this is actually in the book I fully wrote about the Stars, the Gaglardi and Burke had a friendship. And Tom had always told him, if I ever have a team and a GM opening, I'll interview you for the job. They were already pretty close.
I love him.
Yeah, but they were already pretty close to getting things done with Jim Nill. And then Gaglardi said, well, hey, that's great, but I still have to interview Burke for this. And luckily, some other people in the office said, you can't do that. You can't go and insult Jim. You've already done all of this. So somebody took the keys away from right there. And like, that's an example where, as an owner, Tom could have pushed back and said, no, we're going to do what I said. So there was definitely a learning curve for him to kind of reach this spot, because it's good owners, I think, have to, unless you've owned another team.
You have to learn how to be an owner.
You have to make a mistake.
Tomahawk City. I did not have.
I don't know what. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Well, guys,
in this
listen.
show.
That's our breaking news birthday sounder for Luds. And Sean, you just showed me, and I don't even know if Luds read the text message from Sam, but we have breaking news out of Long Island. Okay. Go ahead, Sean.
Lou Lamoriello is out in Long Island.
I could have told you guys that about 3 weeks ago.
That it was going to happen?
Well,
you thought it was going to happen?
I'm friends with the owners.
But so you had a hunch that, or you had inside knowledge of it?
Yeah.
With Ledecky or the other guy?
No, with Scott.
Scott, okay. Yeah.
Ledecky's
Oh, he's all
Ledecky.
over the place.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
He's all over
Yeah.
the place.
And a friend of mine works for him and runs all of his businesses and stuff like that.
I have a great Ledecky Lou story. So I was when they were doing the new building there, and they're giving a tour of the building to the media, and where we're going by the new Islanders locker room, and this poor kid who's probably
Before you finish that, you know that they brought me in, and that's what they had me do is go through the building.
I believe it. Yeah.
And they wanted to know about
Yeah.
the locker rooms.
Well,
and
you
all
did a
that
great
kind of
job.
Stuff.
You did a great
No,
job.
the funny thing was the one thing I told them
Yeah.
was about the broadcast station.
Okay.
I said, because, listening to Ralph and Josh and Razor and everybody that's come before them, they love that broadcasting spot.
Yeah.
They never put it where I told them the best spot was. It's way up
It's
there.
way up
So,
there.
Which is a
but
shame.
yeah, I was fortunate to go through. They asked me some questions I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
So anyways, a friend of mine just said, "Hey,
Yeah.
you do this." So yeah, it's. I think they have hung on to a guy for a long time, and I think it's time. The question is, who now?
That's true. It's a great question.
And once they do, and I don't know if we can make this to answer definitively because
Oh, by the way, do you know what I did? Is remember when did you bring up the record, or did I just bring that up of the minor league team?
yes,
Well, you know-
yes,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
last week
yeah.
with Bridgeport. Yep.
I sent that day
Mhm.
to the people that I know. I said, "This is not good."
Yes.
And
4 wins at home
Yeah.
Yes.
their whole season.
Well, and then he went and said, well, as long as when they come up, they're fine. That was his comment. But the quick story here, we're getting a tour of the new building. They're doing a media tour, and this poor 21, 22-year-old is giving us a tour, and he's like, oh, and right back there is the Islanders locker room. And Ledecky comes by. He's like, oh, yeah, let's take him in and show him. And you can see the poor look on this kid's eyes because clearly Lou had been like, okay, this is where the media tour goes.
Yeah.
And so the kid's like, well, we're not. And then Ledecky it's like, no, I own the team. Let's go back. And then we're standing in the locker room. And he's like, and this is where the Islanders will get dressed for hockey games. And he's like, well, let's go show him this. And the poor kid is no one ever saw him again.
First thing that I tried to do, first thing I did, it was when they got Matt Barzell.
Mhm.
And I said, he should be your poster child
Yeah.
everywhere around the
Yes.
island.
Yeah.
And I said, but he won't be. They said, no, we're going to do a photo shoot and this stuff with him. And I'm like, no, you won't. And anyway, it was about a month later, they said, how come we can't do anything with, I said, because the guy that's driving the bus upstairs,
That's the general manager.
that stuff doesn't happen with Lou. He's very old school, and has there ever been a trade that Lou has made that anybody's ever found out about? I don't
No.
know how he does it.
No.
I mean, but he has to talk to some people.
Yeah.
How does he keep the other side that you're doing
Oh,
the
Sean
trade
has
with
some
quiet?
insights in there. I don't know if he can
You
share
know
them
what
all,
I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of his MO. I mean, he's been that guy that nobody ever knows anything that's going on.
But he's also, there's been, and I think this has been out there by other people, he has been someone who has kind of threatened that, where if I hear about this from someone else, we're not doing the deal.
Right.
And that's kind of one of his,
That's his tactic.
yeah, that's one of his tactics, yes.
Well, there's your New York Islanders update for the
Yes.
day for everybody listening.
For
Okay,
NYILLS.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. But back to Tom Gagliardi, two things that we'll do. We may need a couple minutes of overtime, but not much. One thing he did say was, I'd love to see an outdoor game here again, another one. And then he said, I believe it'll happen. So my question to both of you is that if, like, the first outdoor game, the 2020 Winter Classic was an absolute smash hit success. Perfect.
Mhm.
Can't do it. Honestly, I'm not sure if you could do it any better. The game was great. The weather cooperated, which we all know in Dallas is iffy at best sometimes. The crowd was amazing. Sean, you were
Yes.
in the tailgates out in the parking lot. Luds, you were drinking
Oh, that
Pink
was a great
Whitneys
story.
with the Spit and Chicklets boys. I was up in we were near the Corny Dogs and up in talking to Gary Bettman. I mean, it was just a great day. Would you do it at the Cotton Bowl again, or would you go somewhere else for a different venue if you're going to do another outdoor game in DFW?
I wouldn't do another outdoor game.
Why not?
Not now. It's been too, it's,
Too soon?
I think we always talk about how these things have lost their novelty and everything. That is such a great moment, and it's awesome. But I don't think you're doing it any other buildings. You're not going to have the same feel. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be a Winter Classic. Like
It'd be a stadium series?
it'd probably be a stadium series. And by the way, if you're watching our television platforms, thank you for joining us.
Oh, you
And,
want to do it? Okay. So, well, let's continue this in overtime. Thank you very much for those of you joining on our television platforms today.
I thought you
Don't
did it
forget to
perfectly.
like and subscribe here on the pod. Check out alldls.com.
Anywho, Owen,
You gotta wait for the screen to change.
Is it changed now? Is it
It's
fine?
now you
Okay.
may say anywho.
Yeah, I think that doing another outdoor game right now, I think it's one of the things you wait on. I think it's something where you let the Cotton Bowl game to continue, you let the lore grow for that, you let that grow, and then you don't want it to be a bust. Like doing a game in either the tin shed where the Rangers play or Jerry World or whatever.
The one thing about the Rangers would be you'd have the retractable roof, knowing that weather would be controlled. I'm not saying that's better.
Yeah, no, but it's to me, it's.
Is there any reason to try to do one in Fort Worth?
If you're gonna do like a fun like Lake Tahoe one, where it's like it's not actual crowd, where you're gonna build a rink like through the Cowtown area and you have the cows circling while
like
it's going,
literally around the rodeo.
Like, that would be great. So.
But we already did that with that thing. I'm just curious. I know they could sell it. There's enough fans in Dallas, not just for hockey, but also just for the spectacle of a big moment. But I wonder if there's really much you can do to top that. Now, in that conversation, the last thing we wanted to touch on today was about the arena. And Sean, I wanted to do this when you were here. Tom Gagliardi spoke about how things have shifted in the relationship with the Mavericks. And that Patrick Dumont, the governor, the owner,
who's he? Has he been in the news yet?
I believe he's been in the news a little bit lately. Even Luds has heard about him, and Luds does not pay attention to basketball. But Gaglardi made the comments that he and Dumont wanted that Dumont has always wanted to build a new arena. That the whole Adelson group, when they bought the Mavs, that was their plan. But that initially they wanted, according to Gaglardi, to bring the Stars with them. And that now that tune has changed because they see what the Clippers done with the basketball-specific arena, what the Golden State Warriors did successfully with just a basketball venue. And there's a difference in the way they're built because they don't have to accommodate a hockey rink and the ice plant and the shape. Things can be a little more intimate. You can change the structure. Utah's going through that right now, trying to renovate Delta Center from a basketball-only venue into one that's better sightlines for hockey. And it sounds like the Stars don't want to move. They want to stay at the AAC. They understand that they were hoping to split the cost of renovations over the next couple decades. That's not going to be the case if they're going to lose their other partner in 2031.
Well, here's the thing that I don't know if anyone asked Tom about it or anything, but he owns the plot of land right next to the arena. Like, he owns the land right there. Like, if we want to go and just look up public records requests, he owns the land right there. And what business is he in? He's in hotels.
Hotels
and
and
if I was
restaurants.
an owner who my main business was hotels and I owned the plot of land right next to an arena, I would probably want to build the hotel right there. And by the way, if a gaming license happens, maybe I own it. Like, it's...
And now there's a sports book.
I mean, Tom Gagliardi is... There's a other business side here for Tom Gagliardi that is way more present. And the other thing about the Stars, and I would love for them from a DLLS hockey Dallas. DLLS. I just turned the whole city into this wonderful place.
Yes.
So from a Dallas hockey perspective, it would be great if
donations.
Yep. It would be great if they split, because I've talked to Brad Alberts quite a bit about trying to bring events here, right? We've got the under-18 World Championships going on down here. They'd like to bring more events to Dallas. One of the events the Stars would love to bring, they've seen the success that's happened in Tampa with the Frozen Four. The Stars would love to bring the Frozen Four to Dallas. Unfortunately, with the NBA tenant, you cannot do...
To block off that time.
You can't block off a full 4 days. Like, so for the Lightning, it's all of a sudden, hey, we're just going to put the NHL team on the road then. You can't do that with an NBA tenant. So for a Stars perspective, from a hockey perspective, hockey in Texas gets better if they're split, because all of a sudden the building becomes a hockey building first.
And let me ask you about that being a
I
hockey...
haven't been listening to a
No, it
word
doesn't
you
matter.
guys
He
been
closed
talking
his
about.
laptop. I know this.
I know
this
nothing
cue.
about this.
All you have to do is listen.
All I see is Ben walking around with a bucket of Bud Lights, and we don't have any.
Just listen to my question, because I'll explain what I want you to say, or at least ask you about. You played for Montreal, you played for the Islanders, you played for the Minnesota North Stars. It wasn't until Dallas that you ended up playing in a building that shared it with a basketball team. So the first three were hockey specific. Does that affect? I mean, a lot of people were talking about wondering if the ice quality last night wasn't great. You've talked about playing at the AAC.
When we got here, the ice was shitty to start with.
Right.
It was shitty in Fort Worth when we played out there. It was shitty in Frisco. It was, in Valley Ranch and Reunion. But that being said, it's kind of like Boston when they would build their teams around the old Boston Arena. and they had these teams that went in straight lines. Same thing in Chicago. The kind of team that we had, it was perfect for us. We wanted bad ice, and and Mo could play on bad ice, but teams would come in here and complain about it all the time. You know what I mean? And when we went to Edmonton, those guys were really happy about it. But when Edmonton guys come here and play, they couldn't make the same kind of passes and plays here. So in a way, it was an advantage.
The interesting thing, and just to wrap this up for now, we'll talk more about the arena as this goes on in the next few years. The Stars owner, Tom Gagliardi, did say he feels that this market is big enough. Dallas is. He'd like to stay in Dallas, in downtown, but they feel that they can have 2 arenas, one for basketball, one for hockey, and their subsequent concerts and events, and still make it successfully. We have a couple super chats, at least one or so. I Love Misty 1985 with a Pavelski and a Ludwig. Who's your friend who likes to play? Bing bong, bing bong. He wants me to sing this whole thing. He's Rocket, makes you yell, hooray, bing bong, bing bong. Who's the best in every way and wants to sing the song to say bing bong, bing bong?
Well
That's
done.
for your socks.
Well done.
I didn't really sing it, but
Well done.
Bing bong.
thank you. I Love Misty. T Farmer with a Lundqvist and a Haskin. And my brother's first ever hockey game was last night. I think he's hooked. What's your gut feeling? Will we see Miro in game 4, 5, 6, 7, round 2?
I think 4.
Luds?
It may be back here at home.
5?
Yeah.
I think
I don't know though.
It might also depend on where they are in the series, honestly. Like
Whether they feel the need
Like
to
if-
rush
if
him
they-
a day
yeah,
or
if-
game
if
early?
If you're up 3-1 coming home, I don't know if he plays.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's the game to play. Is let's.
Yes. Yeah.
And again, you don't know how he's going to come back.
No.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know.
but if it's 2-2 coming back for game 5,
To me, it's a decision that's made about Miro.
Yeah.
Not the.
Mhm.
I don't think it should be made about the game as much. I don't think you push a guy like that
Mhm.
into the lineup too early and have something else happen to him.
Bing bong.
Jacob, and this, I believe, is the last one. Lundqvist in the year after the Cup. Desperation time in the third. The Stars really never let the Avs get set up. Defense stepped up and kept it out of the zone despite no Miro. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, it did.
They were harder to play against last night. Bottom line is.
They were.
And this is my last thought on this. Even on those 2 power plays where they weren't very good, Jared Bednar said this yesterday morning that on their 5-on-3 in game 1, at least it spent a couple of minutes where they weren't having to deal with the puck in their own defensive zone. So even if it doesn't get all the lines in the game early, or in this case, the Stars had a couple power plays that kind of fell flat, and there can be some momentum drop to that. Those are a couple minutes where you're not necessarily having to play a lot of defense in your own zone. So
Are there treadmills over there?
there is at least one. Oh, I think they've got 2.
Like there's just people like walking
Everybody's
in place.
walking.
Abby got one too.
My God, it's
That
a
was great.
triumvirate of treadmills.
I didn't know you guys had a health spa here.
Hey,
So
maybe we should do the show on a treadmill.
No.
Luds is looking at me like, not a chance. All right. Well, hey, that does it for us today. We have a really fun road game broadcast tomorrow. We'll do a watch along as part of it as well. I don't know what time.
What?
Yeah, we're doing the ride along, as you like to call it. It's really a watch along. Road games for the playoffs, presented by Bud Light and Happiest Hour.
I wasn't consulted about that.
Sean, I don't even know what time you're showing up, but you will be here for the post-game show, we think.
yeah, I will. It depends on how long. I think it's U.S. Slovakia is at 7. I think.
First games of the U18
for
World
U18s,
Championships
yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I think USA.
Well,
Slovakia.
the first game technically is tonight.
big
at
one's
6
tonight.
p.m.
The big one is
That's
tonight.
a big one.
Go to America at 6.
Is it open to the public, Lutz?
I showed this to Sean. I can't believe it. They gave us a rundown.
You have like a timing sheet?
Yeah.
Is this?
Oh yeah.
Is this open to the public?
I would assume so, but it's a big rundown for the game. What time you go on the ice? What time you come off? Warm-ups are at this time.
Serious, very official.
They got to
I don't
test
see
all. They got to
anything
test all
about
the
beer
systems.
on here.
Well, that's the most
First
important
period,
thing.
game break, team timeout called. They're going to make sure it's run.
Is it a
the
full?
way-
Is it a full 20? Full 20-minute periods?
I would imagine. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to find out during our watch along tomorrow night. Luds, you can give us a nice little breakdown.
15-minute intermissions.
There you go.
There you go. Get the beers during then.
Post game.
You're giving him ideas
I'm
now.
clicking end in 5 seconds.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
thank you for joining us. For Sean,
Sorry, John's
for
got something to
Luds,
do.
for John, I'm Owen. We will see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central Time pregame show for Game 3, Stars against the Avs. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. See ya.
He's going to finish his chicks.
We all silly like the mayor.